bitterly cold. And so then you got that very steep downhill run on pit exit here. So all of those factors influencing what happened to Joseph Newgarden.
Well, watching Newgarden come down for that last repair. Remember, these cars are basically like F-16s on the road. How would you feel if you were Newgarden, you'd see the mechanic holding a giant sawzall to make adjustments to your car and try to keep you in the race?
And that was definitely a NASCAR tool, not one you would want to use on an IndyCar regularly. But Scott Dixon right there. But these guys, Rossi's been so quick all weekend, turning quick laps. But Scott Dixon now has just turned the fastest lap of the race while we were at commercial break. So he wants it, but how much risk is he willing to take?
And bigger picture view of this Verizon IndyCar Series Championship, folks. We've told you many times, 31 points was Joseph Newgarden's lead over Scott Dixon coming into this second last round of race. Now, as they run, there's 36 points, 34 points, I should say, blanketing the top four. This is going to be insane going to Sonoma.
Going to Sonoma, but it's going to be insane for the next 5 laps. You have the most successful IndyCar driver in the last decade going against the hottest young prospect coming up through the series with Alexander Rossi. And I think Rossi just is loving this. Sure, he's under pressure from Scott Dixon, but what a great chance to prove yourself with an awesome Andretti Honda in terms of performance going up against the Ganassi Honda with Scott Dixon.
4 to go around the Glen. These guys are in a league of their own. There is almost a 5-second gap from Dixon back to Hunter Ray. It's been a really strong run today for RHR and the Andretti squad. They run first and third. Elio Castroneves is back in fourth. And Graham Rahal is in the top 5. Mentioned earlier that Takuma Sato is the reigning Indy 500 champion. This man did it in the Napa scheme, which, by the way, they've re-signed for next year with Andretti as well. This was last year's Indianapolis 500, the 100th running. And I think there was an element of shock there for young Alexander that he had done it. Michael Andretti, Brian Herter. What a day that was.
Well, and that day was all about fuel conservation and making the most out of every drop. And the question with Alexander Rossi was, how fast is he actually on equal terms? And he's answered that question definitively this year, not just on road courses, not just on street circuits, but I've been most impressed with Alexander Rossi on the ovals this season. He's absolutely a top 5 oval racer now.
And I'll tell you what, there's no fuel savings at all going on right now. These two cats are going flat out, turning qualifying laps and streaking away from Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Fastest driver that last lap was actually Castroneves in the top 5. So Castroneves not giving up. He's 2 seconds back of Ryan Hunter-Reay, and he wants one more position as we see Pagenaud trying to get around Max Chilton here.
Again, championship contender, inside move, turn 1, wasn't quite close enough to Max to get it done. Chilton runs a little wide. This will give Simon the run, heading up into the S's.
Not sure Simon, he's on push to pass, but I just don't think he's got the downforce level to get it done on the Ganassi Honda car.
Pagenaud just burned his last second of push to pass with that move. Chilton with 4 seconds left. Meanwhile, Alexander Rossi has been forced to burn a ton of push to pass by Scott Dixon. They're now even. Remember, Rossi had a 40-second push to pass advantage. It's gone. It's even. 20 seconds left between the two of them.
Chilton runs wide there. Pagenaud's all over the back. That's a tough place to pass there. That's about 125-mile-an-hour corner.
And that was looming in the background. Carlos Munoz, both ABC supply cars for AJ Foyt Racing, Munoz and Daly.
That move of Pagenaud's was reminiscent of Newgarden on Will Power at Mid-Ohio. The duck left, or duck right, fade left.
Both of these guys are out of push to pass. None left for either of them, so now it's mano-a-mano, no assistance.
For this 200-mile race, you get 200 seconds of push to pass. How you deploy it, it's up to you.
Rossi's pulled away now from Dixon. He's got a little bit more breathing room, so nice little gap as we look out of Dixon's in-car. That's the biggest gap he's had.
Dixon with 13 seconds remaining, Rossi 18 seconds. So Dixon needs to make something big happen through these next 7 or 8 corners to give him a chance on the final lap. And I think Rossi's in a really good position, just managing the gap, He'll know from his team that he's got an advantage on push to pass.
Tell you what, you couldn't have a race that has had more drama than this for a championship leader. So we thought it was going to rain the whole race. We've had a nice, clean, dry race from the start. And man, big drama show today for the Penske team.
Enormous.
And let's make sure we mention the job Ryan Hunter-Reay's done today. Don't forget, it was only 2 weeks ago that he had a 130G crash at Pocono. He still has to be suffering from that massive impact as we take the white flag lap here.
1 to go. That is all less than 3.5 miles. And Alexander Rossi can get his first road course victory in Verizon IndyCar Series competition. He only has 1 win in IndyCar competition, but it's the biggest win you can have, the Indianapolis 500. What a day this has been, not only for Alexander Rossi and the Andretti Autosport team and the Napa 98 squad, because it hasn't all gone their way. They had those refueling issues, and Alexander had to come in off sequence very early in the stint. A caution came out, a really timely caution came out, which aided them, but nonetheless, he has had the speed all day long.
And Paul, I love how Alexander Rossi is finishing this lap with anger. He's not just coasting it in. He wants to prove the point. I belong at the front of this field everywhere we go.
Well, you can't afford to let up on the gas pedal. You can't back yourself up to a guy like Scott Dixon, because he will pounce no matter what lap it is. But a nice, clean finish to the race here for Alexander Rossi.
Alexander Rossi has woven together the perfect race today. It didn't look like it was going his way, but it is now. And the 25-year-old American gets his first road course win. Rossi wins at the Glen. How about that over Scott Dixon? This championship has tightened way up with 1 race to go. Max Chilton still holding Simon Pagenaud at bay. This has been an intriguing run. This is the fight for 8th. So, some valuable points elude Simon there. If only he could have got Chilton, but he still remains a championship contender. And the teammates for AJ Foyt come across the line together. Munoz 10th, Daly 11th. And while all of them at the front, including race winner Alexander Rossi, are enjoying this run home, good strong top 5 there, by the way, from Graham Rahal, you have to think about the guy at the back that is the championship leader right here, Joseph Newgarden. It all escaped him exiting pit lane with a hard crunch into the barrier, a damaged Penske Chevrolet, and he limps home and loses 28 points of advantage to lead this championship into the final day, the final race in 2 weeks' time, with just a 3-point advantage. Katie.
And Michael Andretti has to be so happy now that you just re-signed Alexander Rossi for several more years. Just 2 years with you, though, Michael. How have you seen this guy grow?
He's done a tremendous job. I'm so proud of him. You know, it's just a huge weekend for us, you know, after signing Napa and Napa coming back on board for 2 years and re-signing with Honda, who's been great to be with, and you know, to know that he's going to be with us another 2 years as well. It's fantastic, and you know, I'm so proud of him. You just have been able to watch his progress every race, and he's going to be a real force to be reckoned with.
What do you expect from him as far as results, possibly a championship soon?
Well, that's our plan.
It's a very happy Michael Andretti down here, Lee.
Well, guess what, Katie? He is in 6th, him being Alexander Rossi. Mathematically, Alexander could still win this 2017 championship. Countdown clock continues, less than 2.5 hours until Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series racing. It's the Southern 500. It's the throwback weekend. Lots of cool paint schemes and dedications to heroes of the past, and that's coming your way in less than 2.5 hours. It is time to begin the celebrations here at Watkins Glen. And how about this story that's developing for young American Alexander Rossi? He won for Andretti at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He's now won for Andretti at Watkins Glen, Jan.
Yes, he has, and of course, the crew douses him before he's even fully out of the car, recognizing the photographers, recognizing the crew. And one of my thoughts initially is when you look at the box score today, you'll see that Alexander Rossi started on the pole and won this race, but this was much more about that. Alexander. When you said, where does that come from? Were you talking about the win itself?
No, the champagne in my eyes. I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, also the win. We'll go with that. An amazing job by the whole team today. We had an issue in the beginning, right, with some fuel, a fuel thing, but whatever, it doesn't matter. The team recovered. We had the pace to do it. My front ender is on FaceTime right now. He's having a kid, but it's pretty amazing. It's a huge team effort. I've talked about so much how much we've improved, and I'm so happy we're finally able to show that.
But you also had to overcome a lot of adversity. The beginning of the race went great, and then there was an issue on your first pit stop not getting all the fuel. When you got that call on the radio, knowing you had to pit early, you must have thought, oh no, not again.
Yeah, fuel and I don't seem to work in IndyCar. I don't know if I need to spend some time with a fuel rig and like coax it or something, but it's a wreath, it's fuel problems. We won a race, it's an amazing thing.
But then you had an opportunity because of a caution to kind of get back on sequence. And both Paul and Townsend were talking about at the finish of the race, once you recovered from that pit stop, you had what every driver wants. You had a one-on-one duel with Scott Dixon with exact same equipment, same level of push to pass. How gratifying that you held off the man they call the master of Watkins Glen.
You know, I don't know. I mean, we had a fast car. I knew we had a fast car because we were hitting a fuel number before the final stop, and we had pace. So I knew he was gonna be pushing like hell at the end, and so it was really 12 qualifying laps, and I had the car to do it. We had time, we had the pace, the performance, the tire life, everything was going our way. So a huge hats off to Andretti Autosport. Thank you to Napa Auto Parts. Thank you to Honda. You know, we're coming really hard for 2018.
Well, he talks about coming hard. He has finished this season incredibly 3 podiums just in these last few races. Katie?
Jan, Scott Dixon finished second, but Scott, more importantly, you are now just 3 points behind Joseph Newgarden, heading into double points at Sonoma. What does that mean for your race in 2 weeks?
Yeah, definitely a good move in the points. You know, I'm kind of shocked we ended up where we did. You know, we had to pass a lot of cars. I locked up coming in on the first stop on the wets, and it wouldn't downshift, so almost stalled the car. Got in the pits, we couldn't even fuel it. And then we had a fumble later. We lost about another 4 or 5 spots. So we had to pass a lot of cars, so it was definitely a lot of work. And I think the yellows just fell kind of not really our way, you know. So it was one of those things. But nice recovery by the team. Ended up second. Good points. It's definitely going to be close coming down to the wire here for Sonoma, which I expect nothing less for the Rise IndyCar Series. So I don't know. We're going to have to up our game at Sonoma and see what we can see if we can carry away another championship trophy.
This will certainly make things very interesting in just 2 weeks, Lee. Kevin, sorry.
Well, Joseph Newgarden came in as the championship leader. He's still the championship leader. You told me ahead of time, hey, I'm taking nothing for granted. We could leave here without it. What happened on pit out?
Yeah, I mean, you know, regardless of the way today went, it was going to come down to Sonoma. Obviously, we'd like a bigger points cushion than we got today. You know, I did my guys no favor here in the pits by sliding wide and or I should say slid forward too much. It made the stock really hard for them. And I thought we had Will, but, you know, obviously he did a good job just cruising out of the pits fast, and I made a mistake just hitting the wall there. You know, I just came out of the pits too hot, obviously, off the button, and slid wide. So a couple mistakes on my part, not good for the team, but, you know, they're resilient. They gave me what I needed today, and I'm sure they'll give me what I need in Sonoma. So, you know, that's what it's going to come down to is this final race.
I know you're not into making mistakes, but explain to those of us that have not driven race cars how tough that is going downhill when it's cold like it is on cold tires to be able to try to get up to speed.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a pretty stupid error, but it's easy to do, you know, especially when we don't have tire warmers. That's the good thing about IndyCar. We want it to be difficult, and it is tough when you come out of the pits, but you know, I just made a miscalculation. I was watching Will, and I thought we had gotten him, and then I got off the button, was watching him, and then I saw him scream by me, and I went too heavy on the brake pedal, didn't have enough front grip, and obviously pushed wide. So, you know, small mistake, but those small mistakes can add up at the end of the day, so you don't want to make them. You know, tough time. Feel bad for my guys. It's all on me. So we got to go to Sonoma and be perfect there.
Well, the positive is, as Tim Cindric told him as he pulled in, you still control your destiny. You win at Sonoma, you will be the champion. Lee?
And just some brutally honest comments there. Hiding nothing, Joseph Newgarden, and it's one of those tough ones to swallow, that's for sure. We've got a whole lot of post-race reaction here, but reminding you, NASCAR America is coming up next, top of the hour from Darlington. Looking forward to the Southern 500.